Next lesson is on communication. The way that I like to say it is, if you think that you've communicated enough, communicate one more time. This is an area where I think people struggle because, again, we let our own ego get in the way and we think that we're going to bug people, when in reality, the likelihood that you're communicating too much is going to be incredibly rare. And I say that because our world is filled with so many messages every single day. Being in sales and marketing, it takes me an average for a millennial 15 times of direct communication in order for them to decide to act on it. And it's even more for the Gen Zers and the, right? Is it Gen Z? I don't remember. It's even more for the people who are younger than millennials. Anyway, the whole point here is we have so many things coming at us every single day that when we sit there and think to ourselves, oh my gosh, I have sent out so many communication pieces, and maybe I've sent something once or twice this week. I'm sorry, that is going to get lost in the mix, because the likelihood of someone paying attention to that and it's sticking out in their mind after just one or two pieces of communication is very low. Communicate on different channels. Social media is there to be full of messages. And that one is even more loud and noisy. The chance of someone scrolling through their Facebook and seeing your Facebook post that you put on your PTA group or on your school Facebook group is going to be slim. They're not going to see everything. So going ahead and not being afraid to post more than one time is a good thing. This is an area where I personally have had to kind of work with the administration because they don't want to over communicate to families. And I can understand that. However, I will always come back at them and say, you know what, with my email list, we continue to just send more and more emails. And instead of diminishing return, we just see more return. And what that means is, instead of sending an email once a week, we increase that to 3 times a week. And we wondered, is that going to impact our sales? Are people going to start dropping off of our list just because we did that? Nothing happened. Instead, we saw our sales increase because we were having more touch points with people. So we decided, let's increase it to 4 times a week. Did anything happen? No. Instead, we saw our sales increase. So I think that it's an area where we're a little bit too sensitive sometimes, and we take it a little bit too personally if we see one person unsubscribe, or if that one person sends us an email and says, why do you keep on sending me things about this? I already know. You need to remember that you are not here to please the 1%. You are here to work with the 99%. You're going to have people who disagree with you. If you haven't figured that out yet, then you're going to need to figure it out now. You are not here to take every critique and change everything just because you had the one person out of the 300 that decided that they didn't like that you sent 2 pieces of info about your fall festival. Okay? You just don't. Meet regularly. And when I say that, I didn't put anyone specific because I pretty much meet with everyone regularly. I would say the biggest priorities for people that you need to meet with, number 1 would be your principal, number 2 would be your board. You need to have regular communication with them. If you aren't meeting at least once a month, you need to be. You need to have regular email communication with them. This was something that I wanted to put in place and was a little bit of a rough start, particularly with the principal at the school that I serve at. And the reason for that is because the staff and administration is insanely busy. Their plates are very full. Districts continuously put more on them. And so the idea of them spending extra time after school or spending extra time to help you plan out something that isn't in their direct responsibilities can be intimidating and feel not worth it to them. However, when I first started in my role, I did reach out to the office staff and said, hey, I'm going to be meeting with the PTA board. Would you all like to be involved in that meeting? We're going to be talking about all the different things we're going to do this year. We're going to be talking about our back to school night. I would love to have an understanding of what you need, what the expectations are, and what you hope to see in the next year. They declined because it was still summertime, technically. And they are busy, and they were going to be heading back to the office in about a week after when I had reached out. And so I'm sure they just kind of wanted to extend their time as much as possible in the summer. However, where that created problems, I went gung-ho on all of the things that I felt like needed to change and that I wanted to do in the PTA. And it came as a very big shock to me when I was met with a strong dislike from the principal and the office staff. And it was very much this tough place because I didn't know necessarily what they expected, and they were really busy, but also assumed that I wasn't going to be doing anything differently than the PTA before me. And so you need to prioritize making those conversations with the people that it matters to talk to, because you're going to save yourself a lot of struggle, you're going to save yourself a lot of grief, and you're going to have a better relationship with the administration and with the principal. Building rapport with them is so big. Hopefully you have a principal and administration district who is really supportive of the things that you're doing, but every now and then someone may have hurt them. That is a reality. And on a daily basis, there are parents that are hurting them, because there are some wild parents out there who will call the office and rant and rant and rant and rant. And that's all they do. And they're never calling about anything positive. So you end up having an office staff who often has their guard up. If you can be an example of someone who is positive, who is there to serve them, who wants to encourage them, who has great follow through, you're going to build rapport, you're going to build trust, and your path forward is going to be much easier. Working with your board is the next big step. It's very similar to having employees. If your board doesn't know what is expected of them, they won't do it. And so you won't be able to ensure that things are getting done unless everybody has a very clear understanding of what their roles are. Meet with your board, maybe have a group text going, which I personally have found very valuable. Have a shared database, make sure that everything is shareable, and communicate with each other. If something is funky, if something went wrong at the last event you hosted, talk it out. Don't avoid those confrontations. Just be nice about it. I always like the phrase, say what needs to be said. Just say it nicely. Because too many of us are too nice or we're too mean. We either don't want to confront, and so we just kind of brush it away, or we're a really big asshole. And you don't want to be that either. You want to be able to say in a calm tone what the problem is. Hey, friend, the way that you handled that situation at the event the other day really made me offended, and I just want to talk about it. Can we make sure that in the future we talk to each other about XYZ? And then you move on. Make sure that you're discussing those things. You don't want to be the classic high school clique of a PTA group where everybody's just bitching about each other. Excuse my French. Share it all. And what I say, share it all, I'm talking about be transparent. Show that you know what the heck you're doing. Show that you have an understanding of what your goals are, what your priorities are, and share more than you think may need to be shared. Obviously, do not share confidential information. I would hope that, there's that clear understanding. But for instance, here's a real life example. Our annual fund run is one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. However, the staff and the parents never really understood where all of the money was going. And typically we were bringing in around $11,000 from this event. Teachers didn't want to promote it because they felt like they were sharing they were motivating kids and not seeing any of the return. They were essentially raising all of this money and there was no benefit to them. And they're wondering, why is all of this money going to the PTA and then I'm not getting any benefit? What's the point here? Parents weren't giving because they didn't necessarily know where the money was going either. You would see the huge influx from kindergarten parents because they're hyped about everything. And then as kids get older, you don't see much giving at all because their parents are worn out and they don't understand. They're like, we put in all of this effort the first year that our child was in school. Now our child is in 4th or 5th grade and I'm over giving my money for something that I have no idea what it's going to. Same with the principal administration. There was never this clear understanding of we're raising X amount of dollars in order to do Y and Z. The way that I handled that was I sent out communications before stating that our goal here is to raise X amount of dollars, and we are breaking down those funds into 3 key areas. One of those areas was our school really needed gym equipment. It was really worn out, and so we wanted to designate a chunk of that money, and I was very specific on the dollar amount, towards gym equipment. The next was field trip transportation funds. I had an understanding that we spent a certain amount of money in the previous school year. I said, okay, we have increased costs on transportation and a lot of staff wants to do more field trips than what's been done in the past. We're going to double that, and I'm going to state that this amount of money is going to go towards field trip transportation costs. And then last, I said that the remaining funds are going to go towards teacher classroom supply budgets. So each year, we have a chunk of money that we split up between all of the staff and teachers, and they can essentially send us Amazon lists and we can go ahead and purchase whatever they need within that dollar amount range. So I was really clear that last portion of funds is going towards teachers and staff. This helps people feel the urgency of why they need to give. They're not just giving to this pot and they have no idea why they are giving. They are giving to something really specific and meaningful. Then after the event, timely, in a very timely fashion, and I mean like within a day or 2, there was communication sent out via email to all of the parents who donated and registered their kids for this run. There was a explanation email sent to all teachers and staff about how much we raised, how much of those funds were deducted because of fees, which is inevitable when you're doing any fundraising online. And I broke down how much of that money was going to go to each specific area. And then I also talked to the principal about it during our monthly meeting. So it's really being transparent about what you're doing, what the funds are for, why it's important that you're raising the money, what teachers are going to get out of it. You're going to motivate teachers to want to actually promote all of your events because they see how it's going to benefit them. You're going to encourage parents to give because they have a clear understanding of why you need the money in the first place. And you're going to build rapport with the principal or the administration because they're going to have an understanding that you know what you're doing and you have a purpose for the fundraising event. So they will also be able to promote it for you and feel confident about what you're doing. That's it for this lesson.